Good evening, all of you, and welcome back. Okay. So, I hope your prelims has gone well. So, at least you are not men of copper. Huh? Huh? So, now the silver stage. So, comparatively difficult than your first exam. So, first of all, just tell me who all are attending this crash course for the first time. Okay, so majority of you, and maybe you are not clear, you may be not clear like what exactly do we do in the this crash course, and what will be the advantage and how to utilize this crash course. Fine. And in crash course also you will develop a substantial note, and there can be a comparison what about the basic notes. Fine. So, first of all, basic notes will always remain the foundation. Fine. So, despite in crash course also you are coming and writing something, basic notes is a fundamental, don't ignore that. Fine. And it is already around 20 days after prelims. Fine. So, by this time I expect that you should have revised the entire syllabus at least once. You have revised because I don't think political science syllabus after the amount of discussion in the class should take more than 20 days. Ideally, it should finish in 20 days, 5 days for each section. So, if you have not done, you have to do it earliest. Fine. You have to stretch yourself and come out of the comfort. So, now what to do and how to prepare for the crash course, how to prepare for the exam. So, basically this crash course I will be doing two things. First of all, we are taking the test, and because most of the topics will be covered in the test itself. Besides this, there is a lot of change that has happened in international relations from like US-Iran tensions, and last year's paper was of second paper as well as paper 1 had included lot of current things as well as the micro aspect. They have asked a specific movement. So, even in almost every aspects of the syllabus, lot of developments has happened. So, that I would be covering here. So, anybody having the basic concepts which we have developed in the class can very comfortably manage. And in class also I have told make short notes or key notes. See, political science is a conceptual subject, democracy is this, deliberative democracy, you have then idea. Now, in exam you will not get direct question, you may get direct question because theory paper trend has been they are making it very simple and straightforward. Even when questions are simple and straightforward, it becomes difficult because everyone comes to same level. Then you have to apply mind how to make our answer appear different from the other and it appears more attractive. Fine. So, even simple, when the questions, when UPSC give you simple question, you make it when UPSC gives complex question, you make simple answer. When UPSC gives you simple, you complex it. Fine. So, understand the psychology of this particular examination. And now, from now, other than the current developments that have taken, the time for knowing and learning new things has gone. So, don't dare to read any book now. Fine? Because the time you will be investing in reading a book and gaining 2 marks, somewhere else you will be losing 10 marks. Fine? So work intelligently, work smartly with your, see, knowledge is unlimited. We can never say that our preparation is complete. So more than the knowledge, we have to know that with whatever knowledge and the limited knowledge, how can I work in this way that I can give maximum to the answer. So don't have in your mind, see, exam or any war, you win by mind. It is always a mind game. So don't feel in any way that there is some knowledge deprivation. So when we give mains exam, we feel as if it is some out of the world exam and I need to be extra brilliant, extra intelligent, with special knowledge. It's not like that. It is only about these 3 months also your personality will be tested, that if this much work is there, how you can manage it efficiently and productively. Fine? So they are not expecting you to be intellectuals or professors. Remember this, don't commit this mistake to read some new book and do value addition. Value addition will come to the notes only when you will think more. Fine? Give lot of time to think that this particular answer, how I can write the answer in a way that other person understands it, other person feel. You have to give this feel good factor to the examiner. And sometimes like we focus on knowing lot of things, but minute things, administrator should not be missing the minute things. Now what is the minute thing I will say? The presentation of your answer will also matter. It's not that you pour ocean of knowledge, but it becomes so that clumsy that nobody wants to read it. Fine? So this is the time you work on your presentation. Fine? Many people may not be having good writing, but ensure that write less and write neatly. Okay? Underline the important concepts. So presentation, just see this time many students, they have been penalized for even 20-25 marks. Fine? And UPSC instruction is there, you will be penalized if you are not writing properly. So what do they expect? It's not that you always look at the bigger aspect. You should not be missing the minute things. How minutely you observe those things. So work on your presentation. And your objective should be, whenever you write a particular answer, because now your knowledge will be tested through the answer that you will write, and number of times there is a confusion. Should I write in a paragraph form? Should I write in a points form? Fine. This normally troubles this question, paragraph versus points. Another question students are troubled, GS answer versus optional answer. So these are all useless debates. Fine. Another thing you all are troubled, what is the difference in a critically examine, critically evaluate? You feel the problem, or you feel as if these are the main things. Fine. And some great teachers will take class also on this. There can be one workshop on making the difference, critically evaluate. Fine. So these are all useless things. Follow one pattern. Every answer is expected to comprise of some essential things. First of all, there will be a question. In that question, there will be one core theme which they will be asking. So the moment you look at the question paper, it's not that you start writing. As an administrator, you should observe, you should think what resources, means what information I have at present, and then plan out your answer. Fine? So every answer which I will say, there is a soul of a question. Fine? Democracy, Mill as a reluctant Democrat, there is a soul of that question. That soul has to be there. Fine? And sometimes we feel that it is like a question and answer, one-liner question and answer. Mill is a reluctant Democrat. This is the reason. Fine? You can give, let's say, 2-3 reasons. He is a reluctant Democrat because he does not suggest to introduce democracy anywhere. Fine? These are important points, must points that will be there in the answer, but in itself does not finish the answer. Fine? So there is a difference in a raw material that you collect and the picture or any object you produce. Fine? So what happens? You have to put an idea, you have to put your understanding, you have to go for systematization of your knowledge. Remember behavioral approach. These approaches, dialectics, every political science answer is written in a dialectics manner. There is a thesis, there is an argument, there is a counter argument, and there is a way forward. Even general studies answer will be written in this particular way. Fine? So systematization, even American Political Scientists Association, behavioralism is telling that systematization is expected in research. Here systematization is expected in your answer. Again, it is very important that you maintain the flow of ideas. Fine? Somebody should feel as if it is some music to the mind. When somebody reads your answer, they should feel like that heavenly feeling should come. Fine? So this heavenly feeling will not come when you put lot of information, but 4-5 information, but presented and crafted in a way that any person's flow is not broken. Pay attention to that. Now, this particular thing, should I write in points? Should I write in paragraph? What is the difference in writing points and paragraphs? Even in your general studies, somebody must have suggested write in points, but has that person given you logic? Why to write in points and why to write in paragraph? Do you understand the logic? So actually, writing in paragraph is considered better. Fine? Because when you write in points, you are dumping the information. But you are not giving any shape to that information. Fine? But when you are writing in paragraph, you are trying to give a shape, you are trying to give a systematic view to that answer. Is this clear? So at least initially write in paragraph, because after 4-5 answers, it is enough to test a person. Maybe once you have little time and the last questions, you can go for points. It will not make that much difference. Fine? So the purpose is when you give points, but you are not creating any particular picture. I hope you have understood. Fine? So always when somebody suggests write this way, that way, ask why. What is there? Why should I be writing in this way and not this way? Fine? Next thing is, try, like use, like whenever you say something new, use a different paragraph, fine, so that your point is easily understandable. What is your task? Your task is that somebody who is reading should be comfortable reading your answer, fine. So make small paragraphs. You can underline the key words. And in political science, or let's say in international relations, you will get good marks when you will add keywords, fine. You have to adapt the language of political science. Suppose when you have to write China, instead of writing China, you can always write the Middle Kingdom, fine. When you write India-US relations, somewhere from engaged democracy or strange democracy to engaged democracy, you are expected that as a subject, you know the basics of the subject. That basics also include the keywords, fine. Now another point of anxiety among the students is scholars. How many scholars should I remember? So my suggestion is don't remember any, fine. Whatever comes to you naturally, write natural answers, fine. Scholars are not going to give big weightage to your answer. Scholars only authenticate your point of view, fine. So don't worry that I don't know scholars, some student come, I have written 20 scholars, still I have not got the marks. See, social sciences are different from natural sciences. It is not mechanical in nature that you write things mechanically, fine. So sometimes even you write 100 scholars does not mean you will get good marks. So you have to write your point of view, which should appear clear, and authentication of your point of view through the scholar. And then it is not necessary that you should literally remember, fine. You must, suppose you read some article of C. Raja Mohan, you remember his idea. So write the perspective, not the words, fine. When you will understand the perspective, it will be clear that you have grasped that idea very substantially. Is that clear? So first of all, how, like you have to perform well, means you have to perform and you have to get excellent marks. This is our objective, fine. Now performing well requires one thing, that is you should be happy, okay. So you will perform very well if you are psychologically strong. Be happy and now enjoy the exam. Don't feel pressure of the exam, fine. Enjoy the exam. Enjoy the exam. You have worked so hard. Now it is the time to reap the benefits. And you must really appreciate. It's like don't have that fear psychology in you. Which question will come? Which complicated question UPSC will ask? Rather think differently. Let them ask anything, fine. And again, appreciate UPSC that what a beautiful questions they make, and enjoy that paper. कभी कभी एकदम simple question आता है, ऐसा लगता है I made lot of effort और ऐसा question. Invite, think, let the paper be difficult, fine. Enjoy, appreciate that UPSC is making beautiful questions. These are the questions for which I have made efforts, fine. So I have not made efforts for any SSC exam, fine. So there is a level of UPSC. You are going to join that prestigious services, so their level is going to be there. So change your mentality, enjoy it. Still this process, enjoy that process, don't feel burdened, be very selective in your resources. इतना ही पढ़ना है, IAS बनना है तो बनेंगे, कोई बहुत पढ़ के बनता है ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता, ठीक है, बनना है, लिख के आया है इंसान तो बनता ही है, ठीक है, तो बनता है, उसके लिए जो मेरे 3 months हैं या 2 months हैं, why should I waste? Fine, you should have the knowledge, you should enjoy the process always, because even if once you become IAS officer, after that again there will be excitement for 5-10 days, you will need something else to remain engaged, and new journey for happiness will begin. So learn, whenever you learn something, feel good about it, be happy, you get what you give. So you give happiness, you get happiness. Fine. So it is not at all difficult. If you see the toppers and all, their answers are not that they are coming from word of ideas. Fine. And actually, unfortunately, I'll say that Indian education system, 12th, 10th, university level is so bad that even if you are slightly better, you have a very good chance. They give you, they reward marks like that. You get, because you don't get any person who is sensible enough. ठीक है, तो यूपीएससी निकालना बड़ा आसान है, लोगों ने बिना मतलब कॉम्प्लिकेट करके रखा है. फर्स्ट बी कॉन्फिडेंट, और ये 3 महीने मेरा इतना कवर नहीं हुआ, उतना कवर नहीं हुआ, वो चीज़ें सोच के डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम. डिसिप्लिन इज इम्पॉर्टेंट. जैसे दिस क्रैश कोर्स, दिस इन्वॉल्व्स टेस्ट. फाइन, सो मेक इट अ पॉइंट, you give test at the specific date, don't postpone it. Fine, don't have this, don't go for your conveniences, because ultimately it's a competition. Don't be then that much relax. Fine, because the checking will also be better if you give early. See, as such, I don't check the papers because that's not possible for me, but I brief all those, what is to be seen, what is the answer I discuss there. Those who check, they also read and prepare their answers. We sit and plan everything. Fine. So answers, when they are checked, there is a mood, a person is in that particular mood. Fine, his ideas are fresh. So when you write theory answer and the theory answers are being checked, even other students are writing, so that point of time your comparative evaluation is possible. But suppose theory paper or international relations paper and then you give theory paper, you will not, we try our best, but that mood has gone. Fine, so it is better you give your answer on the particular date, you write on the particular date. Fine, and otherwise we will not be able to cover also. Is that clear? So your anxiety, control the anxiety. Fine, and stay happy. And you remember that you have already done enough work. Now it is a time that we consolidate it, we systematize it, and we orient ourselves according to the examination. Fine, and ensure that you don't leave any questions. And whenever you will see the question paper first, you will have some surprising element into that, कि ये तो मैंने पढ़ा नहीं, जैसे कोई specific movement आ गया. There was a movement related to copper sterlite, जो specifically we may not have discussed, but that was going on in the news. अब उस movement में, but theme तो हमें environmental movement का ही लिखना है ना. Nature of environmental movement, movement of south, movement of north, रामचंद्र गुहा, सुनीता नारायण, उसी को utilization करना है. तो that is called as smartness. तो स्मार्टली हैंडल करना है. योर रिसोर्सेज विल नेवर बी इनफ, because in administration, in field, will your resources be enough? No, but whatever resources you have to manage it smartly. ठीक है, तो उस एग्जामिनर को क्या लगना चाहिए? दो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, एक स्टूडेंट जिसको पता है उसने लिखा है, दूसरा स्टूडेंट है उसको आइडिया है लेकिन फिर भी वो मैनेज करके सेंसिबल लिख पाया. किसको ज्यादा इनकरेज करना चाहिए? One who knew. The one who knew he can write. One who didn't know still managed to write. Who is better? One is capitalist. Which one is capitalist? First one. No, social, I don't think that is a correct analogy. Fine. So, don't worry for international relations. I think we will have to do a lot in international relations because a lot of things have changed. Fine. And hardly there will be questions which will be of basic nature. Fine. So for international relations, we will try to cover in the class. And now, what will be the key to score marks? More practice. Because when you will do practice, then only you will understand how to systematize your ideas. You know about Trupti? She got which rank? 16th? Okay. So when she came to meet me, I just asked like what special you did. So she said she wrote one paper every day from the date prelims exam was over till mains exam. Every day, instead of reading something new, she preferred to write one paper every day. Fine. So practice, writing practice will make you perfect. If your level of preparation is to that level, that you can write one paper, if not one paper, at least make it a point that you will write 10 questions per day. You can gradually increase the number of questions. Every person who has got good marks have done lot of writing practice. The second thing I asked, what value addition you do? Have you done something extra? So nothing other than newspaper. Fine. Because even before exam, till the day before exam, she was she was reading the paper and adding, because this is something which is going to give you some value addition. Textbooks and all will not give you any big value addition. Fine. So paper like the article of anybody, like suppose elections have happened, even in Indian section we can expect question on election commission, electoral behavior, electoral reforms, trend. Fine. So how present trend or something like the debate on simultaneous elections. So even what are supposed to be general studies questions, they can also be asked in political science if you go by the previous year trend. Fine. So current trend is important. Notes, continue reading newspaper, keep on applying your mind that how you will be linking and doing the networking of ideas, nothing else. Ensure that at least in night, the way you did prelims, you cannot do prelims without practice. So towards the exam you were doing at least one paper per day. So same thing you will have to do now also. Fine. Good, like previous year questions, test series questions, same question also you can do again and again. Okay, because your first target is completion of the paper in time. Second target is that it should be it should be presentable. Fine. And right now whatever you study, you convert it into a question and answer form. What can be the question? When you read the newspaper article, can there be a question? There was an article by Christophe Jeffrey Lord, simultaneous election and future of federalism. Fine. So can there be a question? Convert it into that form. What you can do in the morning, you can look for 5, 6 or let's say 10 questions. read those questions from your notes, make key notes before writing that question, go through that, and then you write. You study only those things. Fine. So in crash course, basically whatever we have studied, but still many students feel they cannot write in the question and answer format. So we will do the practice. Whatever questions we do here, go and repeat and write it again. Fine. So social sciences, keep on writing. You will learn how to write. Otherwise, no. Fine. So keep on writing. Like this test series, some people may have joined in October also. So you have lot of questions, you have lot of model answers. Read model answer, learn in and write. So many students did only this thing, whether it is Tripti, whether it is Ananya Das, test series question answers they learned. And many of them were in the running batch. Fine, like the batch which is in the June batch, but test series question answers they learned and they could get good rank in the 2 digits. Fine. So study political science in question answer form and don't ignore your general studies. I don't think political science demands a lot of time. Political science does not demand a lot of time because it is like static. Fine. Your optional may be, your general studies can be more, I say, challenging. So you can feel more calm in the optional. Optional is not that you should be feeling more troubled. Just do 10 questions per day. Okay. Now the next test will be on Indian section. From the previous year Indian section, take 10 questions from notes, make the key notes, and then you apply your mind how to write that answer, write it. Fine. And another thing is, this year I have also appointed 2 mentors, and Chitra Reddy is here, call him. So after you get your copy, you can go to them for one-to-one interaction. Fine. So one of the mentor is Shivpal Chitra Reddy. He got 131 rank. So he will be there, and I invited him for a workshop at Hyderabad, and the way he was explaining how he approached the question answer, he was not even a regular student, he was just an answer writing class student. Fine. But the approach, how he connected with the history and all these things, that approach is very good. That is why I called him that till your training you be here, and with your, otherwise also if you are writing some answer, take time, he will be available in the main office, take time and have one-to-one interaction. So beside Chitra, come here, beside Chitra Reddy, Saurabh is also there. So, and one more student, Chaitanya. So they all have got good marks in mains. You can approach them and have one-to-one interaction with your copies, because this is what is required, that at personal level somebody can detect where you are going wrong and can give suggestion. And I feel Chitra Reddy is very much qualified to help you in this context. Fine. So how the crash course will be, we will be doing it, 2 things, question and answers, plus I will try to cover all previous year relevant questions and answers. So these question and answer will be enough that you will develop how to develop a good idea how to write and put anything in papers. And then we will be covering the current affairs, international relations and the current part. And many of you feel that we have not done Indian section very elaborately. There are many myths I often hear on your forum discussions. Ma'am does not cover Indian section or comparative section. It's not like that. You have not understood that I have covered. Fine. Fine. So my Indian section notes, I can claim they are perfect. There cannot be any better collection of the material in Indian section. It's not possible because there is not a single book. Fine. And We need not to study like Lakshmikant and that detail, because the questions are analytical in nature. Fine. So don't feel you have to do something else. Think again, look at the notes. They are very comprehensive. Other than these notes, nothing else. Like Indian section is, like Indian politics is my favorite area. Fine. And that is like the best notes, but you have not understood it. Fine. Again, comparative politics, I'll say nothing will come out of notes, don't worry. And then nothing will come out of this crash course. That much, if anything comes, see, the competition is among you. Fine. If यही इतने ही लोग होंगे वहाँ पे, ठीक है, अपने ही स्टूडेंट होंगे, तो अगर तुम्हें नहीं आएगा, तुम्हें नहीं आएगा तो बाकियों को भी नहीं आएगा. तो इसलिए इसके आगे कुछ है नहीं. आई कैन क्लेम दिस. ठीक है, इसके आगे कुछ नहीं है. और feel good, you have taken political science, you have in a very comfortable position, only you have to do general studies. Even GS में भी political science का बहुत ज़्यादा, see the paper, GS paper of last year, paper 1, role of caste, role of society, women movement, everything was asked, even through that paper, post-independence. Fine. So you can, social issues, you can easily do through Indian section. So you are going to have huge advantage, don't worry. Make a proper timetable, how you will be doing which paper of general studies and all. Political science, feel relaxed. In the night you can give 2-3 hours and finish it. Fine. And here Ved Prakash, your name is Ved Prakash? Ved Bhushan. Ved Bhushan is there. So he has already cleared, and he has a very good method of making notes, which I shared with you all in the class number of times, that make key notes, use different pens. Fine. For thinkers, that before exam, if you have to remember the thinkers, you can just have a glance of that quickly. Fine. Again, lot of thinkers is not that needed, and you have to write. Number of times I read all these discussions on forum, you have to write lot of thinkers to get marks. It's not like that. Fine. See, no one before me was teaching political science. Fine. No one after me will ever be able to teach. Fine. Now you have to write thinker or not. This is my own way of writing. This is what I thought, so I introduced, but this is not necessary that this is the pattern. Fine. And don't feel deficit in terms of thinker and ये मुझे याद नहीं, core of answer has to be there. ठीक है. तो political science अगर कुछ भी नहीं करना है, यही crash course के question answer भी करोगे तो भी question मिल जाएंगे. ठीक है. अब now for just 5-10 minutes you share your strategy, then I'll start the questions. So give him a warm applause also. So he will also be your mentor. You can take time and you can have one-to-one interaction with him on your copies. And why I called him especially, because he was not a regular student, he was just a crash course student. So many students do only crash course and get such a good rank. Fine. So that itself is another reason that will keep you motivated. And the way he has understood, so I thought that he is right, like if I am Kautilya is my Chandragupta Maurya, that he could grasp even by not being in the class, just on the basis of notes. Fine. So briefly, 10-15 minutes, you just tell them.
First of all, thank you, ma'am. I have 2 questions for you. How many of you are writing mains for the first time? So nearly 40 to 50% of you. How many of you have political science as background, in sense, if you have done, so this. So this will, no ma'am, this will be the case. So, matlab 95%, 90 to 95% of you will be reading political science for the first time. But since time is short and I'll be in that office or building or here, matlab you can come to me. But to say concisely, I'll deal with individual parts individually. So when it comes to part A, paper 1 part A, we have 3 main parts: political theory, political ideologies, and Western political thought, and okay, fourth one is Indian political thought. The first thing we do is we neglect Indian political thought. We'll see we can do it in last 15 days or 20 days. I would advise you to do it prior to political ideologies also, so that the strike rate there is very high. In sense, there are just 4 key people, and you need to grasp them, and there are not more than 3 to 4 pages on each person. So you can do that first. And while doing that, try to core. While doing that, you will have. While doing that, please try to correlate with Indian history. You will have read very good books on Indian history. For example, when there is a difference between Hindu political thought and Buddhist political thought is asked, then you can say that when it comes to Buddhist political thought, the idea of a king is Mahasammata, the person who is elected by an assembly, and he should conquer by love, not by war. But when it comes to Hindu political thought, king should aspire to be a Chakravartin Samrat. In sense, he has to expand, and once he establishes his power, the first thing he has to do is he has to expand. This thing every one of you will be writing, but if you can add 2-3 examples. For example, when it comes to Hindu political thought, the person who has expanded a lot in Indian history was Samudragupta. You can add him. And Hindu political thought also gives many rituals to king. That Dharmashastras subscribe Vajpayee, Ashwamedha, these kind of things. And they were restored by Samudragupta himself. So you can quote him. And when it comes to Buddhist political thought, first there is a debate that is Buddha a political philosopher or not. There everyone knows kings came to him to seek political advice. If you can mention Ajatashatru, it is given in NCERT, it is said that he visited Buddha for political advice. If you can quote that, that will be little bit 2-3 cherry points in your answer. That will make your answer look different from others. And when it comes to political theory, in political theory we will be dealing with 3 main concepts, generally democracy, justice and equality. These are the 3 main concepts. So try to introduce, while introducing a concept, and when it comes to part A, introduction is the key. If you could grasp the crux of the question in introduction itself, examiner will know you know that. He will not go into nitty-gritties generally. So you can grasp that very well while relating the idea to political science, justice idea to relations to political science, or like that. Try to prepare some good introductions, or rather than preparing good introductions prior to the exam, if you can understand it better, if you try to revise it many times, in the exam you will find an introduction at that time itself. You will be that good if you have grasped it. And again, when it comes to Western political thought, try to relate it with the space-time of the thinker. Generally we tend to ignore that part. So while introducing the philosopher himself, when you introduce Machiavelli, you can say that Italy was a house divided against itself and it was subjected to external threats. So reason d'aetat, reason of existence of state became a primary concern for Machiavelli, and he didn't consider morality because his primary objective was to preserve the integrity of Italian state. Secondly, when it comes to his idea on religion, the primary thing, someone came to me yesterday and said that he separated science from religion, it is the time of enlightenment. Machiavelli had nothing to do with science. He was concerned about religion's interference in political affairs, and he thought that papacy's intrusion in political affairs is the reason for divisions in Italian politics. So if you could introduce that with respect to time space of the philosopher, then everyone will think you have understood the concept well and you know the philosopher well. And when it comes to part B, ma'am also said she has covered in the IGP, Indian Government and Politics part very thoroughly. I will quote an example from last year's paper. There was a question on Tuticorin. If you focus on the word Tuticorin, we will know just 2-3 points, but it is fundamentally an environmental movement. If you could concentrate on that, ma'am has given 3-4 pages of extensive notes on environmental movement. We need to apply that part in this area. That's all. And when it comes to part B, I would advise you to go through generally party system, these issues. If you could go through elections. For example, everyone should have read, according to my 1967 general election ka Wikipedia page. Because it is the election, ma'am also says in notes ki Nehruvian consensus broke and the seats of coalition politics started. You can also say Congress itself was a bigger coalition. Every interest was represented by Congress itself. In sense, if you could relate that elections and if you can go through profile of MPs also, again that Yogendra Yadav's comment that plebeianization of Indian politics comes due to the rise of BSP and SP. First wave, second wave of democratization. These are well placed in the notes. If you could use them in the context of exam, that will be good enough. And when it comes to paper 2 is completely, you need not read any book. Notes are definitely sufficient. I am not exaggerating, or since ma'am is here, I am not saying. That is enough. That will be definitely enough. And try to make your own perspective. When it comes to paper 2 part B, India and the world, or the theory part also in some areas, ma'am will introduce the grand design. She has good points in sense she introduces. For example, when it comes to China's American first and China's dream, she has introduced in last year crash course itself how one is a status quo power and other is a revisionist power. That Graham Ellison's concept of Thucydides trap. Then you can build upon that, make your own understanding, and you can build upon that. And secondly, when it comes to scholars, you need not quote many scholars. And I have seen many people starting according to. We are writing our own perspective. I will say there should be not more than 3 according to senior 15 marker. Or if you have to write a scholar, please say while being a liberal, X says so and so, being a Marxist or environmentalist or other thing, on the other hand, or in contrary, usage of transitions will make sure that that flow continues, as well as you have quoted also. If you say according to, it becomes when it is asked, you are just giving him जैसा beggars को देते ना एक रुपया देके ऐसा लग रहा है if you write in the the examiner needs your perspective, and when you write your perspective, your answer definitely will stand out, because you are definitely unique. The way you see it is unique. So I would advise you to do that, and I will be available in that building as well as this. So many of you will be knowing more than me also. Some of you both senior players भी होते हैं. With due respect to them also, I know what I know I will share. Think it as a peer review rather than giving some knowledge. That's it. Thank you.
So, to begin with, I think, and yes, in international relations, because many things have changed, little bit you will find that we are going again to the basics, but we have to connect the story from there only, because so many magazines now, very happening thing is the current world order, fine. So lot of articles in the magazines and all is coming. So that section I will be starting from the next week, fine. Saturday will go more thoroughly, I think, for international relations, because a lot of things have changed, a lot of new books have come. So today, to use the time, I think I will be discussing the paper which you did today, fine. Fine. No, it doesn't make any difference. Fine. You know and then you write, no problem. I always say open book exam, no problem. Fine, because we will not have time. So some or the other papers will be missed. So let's use our time wisely. Fine. So even if you have not given paper, no problem. Fine. So fine. So you have that paper, question paper? You don't have. So now I'll start with this paper, and my habit is to start from the last. Fine. So I'll start from question 8. Fine. And let's say question 8C. And the question is, which we have done in the class also, writes properly, so called, are the creatures of law, properly so called. This is a statement of Bentham, because similar like natural rights are nonsense, that question had come. In light of above statement, discuss the limitations of the theory of natural rights. Fine. So what is the main theme in the question? So we can do structuring here, that is important. So what is the main theme in this question? We have to write about Bentham, or we have to write about natural rights? Natural rights. And they are asking the limitations of the theory of natural right. But we will write only directly the limitations. You have to write about the theory of natural rights also, because some students take it very literally. They will explain Bentham in one paragraph, then they will explain limitations. So they are very honest, but that's not the way. Huh? And then they say, I have written to the point answer and I have not got the marks. Fine. So the structure of the question should be, first you write something about the natural rights. Introduce natural rights. Now, how will you introduce the natural rights? What is natural right? Fine. Can we define natural rights? Can you define natural rights? So, whenever you define natural rights, fine, always focus, there are two meanings. One is the description or the literal understanding. The second thing is implication of that concept. Fine. So I will say, in literal sense, it is believed that natural rights are the rights which are enjoyed by man, by God, or which it has because of being man. Fine. But what is the implication of this? The implication of this idea is that it is an intrinsic part of man's personality. But again, you have to not define, just listen more. You need not to define, focus more on defining natural rights. The question is not on natural rights, the question is on theory of natural rights. Fine. So means why scholars made the theory. Fine. So what happens, we don't visualize that they are asking theory. Fine. So why theory of natural rights had come? Theory of natural rights. What natural rights do? Natural rights prevent a person or protects a person from the tyranny of the state, fine, or from the tyranny of the society, fine. So this thing you should be able to point out, that the theory of natural rights, अभी और लिखने से पहले हमेशा रफ वर्क करो कि when you look at the question क्या क्या चीज़ें तुम्हारे which you know and they are coming to your mind. So I have to deconstruct the theory of natural rights. The purpose of theory of natural rights is to protect the people from despotism, from tyranny. So which theory was there to justify natural rights, to justify despotism? Theory of divine rights. So link somewhere the theory of divine rights. So don't just describe the natural rights. Emphasize on the theory of natural rights came with this particular objective. Explain it, okay, in the introduction. Is this clear? And always, like he was saying, Western political thought, it is like a history. Fine, ancient, I told that thought is understood in terms of time and space. So history, understanding of history, so divine rights theory justified state despotism. Against this came the natural rights theory, which established the rights of the man. Fine. Now make it easy for someone who is reading the natural rights theory through some example. The idea of natural rights can be seen in the French Declaration. Okay, it can be seen in American Declaration of Independence. Fine. And if you can remember, you can quote it. हाँ, वो तो theorist में आएंगे. That is the main question. तो ये क्या है? This is introductory part. You can give reference to American Declaration. You can give reference to French Declaration. Next, from the next paragraph, you should start the theory of natural rights. Fine. So the theory of natural rights, it first develops in work of John Locke. To write something about John Locke. Sometimes we know the title of his book, but we miss it. Okay, so Locke in his, these things make it formal. 2 treatises on the civil government. अब इसमें कुछ एक्स्ट्रा तो याद नहीं करना है, लेकिन याद है, लेकिन यूज़ नहीं करते. लेकिन अगर बुक का रेफरेंस देते हैं तो वो ऑथेंटिक हो जाता है. फाइन. सो इन हिज theory of civil government suggests that people have 3 inalienable rights. Fine. Just, it is not enough. Implications you should be writing. By establishing the natural rights, what he did, he has established a government, a theory of limited government based on consent. So explain the theme of Locke in few sentences. Fine. Next, there is, or you can say the theory of natural rights, there is one tradition which is Lockean tradition, and then there is another tradition, this is teleological tradition of Thomas Paine, T.H. Green. Fine. So what Thomas Paine didn't believe in the social contract tradition. Fine. So what he says that it should be linked with teleological explanation that as a human being for development of the personality we need 2 things. So the theory of natural rights, it serves 2 purposes. It gives opportunity for development, it protects person from the tyranny. Fine. And then you bring it to the recent time. So theory of natural rights, it is again revisited and it re-emerges in the form of theory of human rights, recognized in Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So now this is how you have complete. Now the theory of natural rights. Try to remember if you know any contemporary thinker on rights. Any contemporary thinker on natural rights you remember? Nozick, right? So Nozick is so much inspired by Locke. So you can always mention Nozick, the entitlement theory of rights. Fine. So if you can link it with the contemporary scholar. Fine. These, like this is the raw material, then you have to decide what proportion, which is to be taken, which is to be not taken. Fine. Now after that, second thing, we have described the natural rights. Now what we should be writing? Limitations. Fine. So you have to say that the theory of natural rights has been criticized by various scholars or various traditions, and then come directly to the Bentham. Fine. And what is Bentham's tradition? Legal theory of rights. And then you say that he criticizes natural rights as anarchical fallacies or nonsense. Okay. Then you have to give the core points of Bentham, that why it thinks that it is nonsense and it is anarchical fallacies. Fine. So question क्या है? In light, we will give major focus, weightage to Bentham's idea, but we will also give reference to other scholars. So besides Bentham, you can give Edmund Burke. Fine. You can give other scholars. So this is how actually we can revise the entire theories of rights also. Is this clear? So have you written the structure? So I am giving you points. You go home and see whether how to fit it in maximum 200 words. What is to be eliminated? These points you have understood? Now, since the question is on Bentham and repeatedly asked, what are the core arguments of Bentham that you write in your notes? Core arguments of Bentham, on the basis of which he challenges the theory of natural rights. इसको underline कर देना. So first let's revise little bit, and always if possible see how you can mention a thinker's school of thought and can you play with those words. Fine. So what you can say, that to just see first, that in liberalism there are two traditions. One is a natural right tradition found in the works of Locke, and other is a utilitarian tradition, draws inspiration from Hobbes and well represented in works of Bentham. Fine. So always the theory of natural rights which Bentham will give will be somewhere based on his utilitarian tradition. Fine. So utilitarian tradition coming from Hobbes, and he justifies it on the ground of that the rights, the theory of rights should be ground on the basis of greatest happiness of greatest number. Fine. Now the grounds he rejects. Fine. So first of all, natural rights theory, he says, is very vague. Natural rights is a vague concept because you cannot properly define what is natural right. In comparison to that, if you have a legal theory of rights, fine, it is properly defined, it is codified, there is no confusion. Fine. Now, Bentham says what? That natural rights is a terroristic language. Fine. This statement you remember? So, natural rights may lead to disorder. Why natural rights lead to disorder? Because, no. First of all, it leads to chaos because interpretation is different. It leads to disorder because the theory of natural rights is demanded against the state. Okay? So, it has an implication to destabilize the state. You are demanding it against the state. Fine? Now, utilitarians, drawing from Bentham, they believe in order because order is necessary for security of life and happiness. Fine? तो किसी भी जैसे what he was saying grand design, हर thought का एक grand design है, हर thinker का एक grand design है, उसका school of thought. उस school of thought से we can link it. ठीक है? Now Bentham says so. Suppose the question comes only on Bentham's statement. So Bentham gives the legal theory of right, but there will always be people who will be criticizing Bentham. Okay? So even legal theory of right is not a complete theory of right. Fine? So Bentham justifies utilitarianism from some vague idea of philosophic calculus and all these things. So if theory of natural right is vague, the theory of legal right, the way Bentham proposes, is equally vague. Is this clear? So there are people who have criticized even Bentham's idea. If the question has been only on Bentham, you can mention about it. Yeah.
सीधे नेचुरल राइट से शुरू कर दें?
हाँ, क्योंकि अगर हम स्टेटमेंट से करेंगे तो वो पूरा डिसजॉइंटेड होगा आंसर, फ्लो में नहीं आएगा, फिर तुम नेचुरल राइट कब डिस्कस करोगे? बेंथम के स्टेटमेंट से अगर तुमने स्टार्ट किया तो बेंथम का स्टेटमेंट फिनिश्ड, नेक्स्ट सेकेंड थिंग यू विल टॉक, देन देयर विल बी नो लॉजिकल कनेक्शन बिटवीन व्हाट यू आर राइटिंग. तो ये समझना है क्वेश्चन इज अबाउट व्हाट. They are trying to filter out now who is smart and who is not. So any smart person will find the question is not on Bentham that much. The question is on the natural right, and 70% of the weightage in your answer has to be on description of natural rights. Is this clear? You have understood this? So now any question on rights come, fine. You can always start with, you can just write a quote which is actually seen as not a part of the question, but you can always write a quote stating the importance of the rights. ठीक है? तो कोई भी क्वेश्चन आए राइट्स का, यू, और कोई ज़रूरी नहीं है कि किसी ऐसा कोट जाए गांधी या किसी का, कोई भी राइट का क्वेश्चन आ जाए, ह्यूमन राइट का भी आ जाए, फाइन, स्टिल यू कैन ऑलवेज राइट द कोट ऑफ जॉन लॉक, because he is the person with which the tradition of the right has started. You don't need to put any extra effort in remembering Locke statement. ठीक है? तो किसी भी right का question अगर आता है तो ये एक हमेशा लिख लो, चाहे लॉक का स्टेटमेंट, चाहे नॉजिक का, किसी का भी लिख सकते हैं. ठीक है? तो लिख लो ये स्टेटमेंट. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जॉन लॉक का स्टेटमेंट यू राइट, being all equal and independent, comma, no one ought to harm the other in health, no one ought to harm the other in life, health, liberty or possessions. अब ये कहीं आए, इंडियन सेक्शन में आ जाए, ह्यूमन राइट मूवमेंट में आ जाए, तुम्हारा स्मार्टनेस है, कहीं भी लिखो भाई दुनिया भर के राइट के पिताजी तो यही हैं, ठीक है। तो ये नहीं कि बस लॉक में ही ये लिखना है, जितना आ गया है उसको कहाँ कहाँ हम यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं। तो कोई राइट का क्वेश्चन आए, कोई सोशल जस्टिस, कहीं कोई क्वेश्चन आए, इसको याद रखो, ठीक है। और इम्प्रेशन जमाने के लिए कोई एक्स्ट्रा एफर्ट तो है नहीं, थियोरी क्या है, 2 ट्रीटाइजेस ऑन सिविल गवर्नमेंट, वो भी लिख दो, बहुत ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम 2 भी लिख सकते हो, ठीक है, लिखो नीचे 2 ट्रीटाइजेस ऑन सिविल गवर्नमेंट, जॉन लॉक। तो ये वाला स्टेटमेंट तो याद ही रहता है तुम लोगों को। इसके अलावा एक और स्टेटमेंट दे रहे हैं जिसको थोड़ा फ्रेश फीलिंग देना है, यू कैन राइट नॉजिक्स स्टेटमेंट। Right, individual have rights and that there are no things, persons or groups may do to them, persons or groups may do to them। ये तो सोशल जस्टिस, इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, कहीं भी दलित, उसमें अम्बेडकर, कहीं भी ये सब कुछ भी राइट्स में डाल सकते हैं। तो बट व्हाट डज दिस मीन? ही बिलीव्स दैट मैन इज बॉर्न विद नेचुरल राइट्स and man should have an absolute control over his natural rights. So this is what he says, that individual have rights, that is a fact, and no thing or person may do anything, means no one can deprive a person from his natural rights. Fine. तो अब आगे जो भी natural right का question आता है, you can remember and write any of the quote, किसी का भी है? हाँ, यू कैन मेंशन, मतलब ऐसे ही तो एडिशन करा जाता है कि दिस मेक्स, यू कैन मेक इट मोर अट्रैक्टिव, ठीक है। सो यू कैन राइट दिस एंड यस, बट यहाँ पे स्कोप नहीं ना, विच आर्टिकल? हाँ, तो वो वेग थोड़ी, वो तो डिफाइंड है। इतना स्कोप नहीं लिखने का, ठीक है। तो राइट द स्ट्रक्चर, तुम लोगों ने लिख लिया स्ट्रक्चर, क्या क्या इंट्रोड्यूस करना है। तो बेंथम के पॉइंट्स पहले लिखो, मतलब हाउ विल यू डिस्क्राइब बेंथम्स पोजीशन। To write in liberalism there are 2 traditions, the natural rights tradition and second the utilitarian tradition. ठीक है। अब नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ, यूटिलिटेरियन ट्रेडिशन कम्स फ्रॉम हॉब्स एंड बेस्ड ऑन द थियरी ऑफ, राइट इन्वर्टेड कॉमास, पॉजिटिव लॉ। ये तो जानते हो, इसमें कोई एक्स्ट्रा एफर्ट तो नहीं है, लेकिन ये सब चीज़ें इम्प्रेस करती हैं। इसको पॉजिटिव लॉ वर्ड पता है, इसको एनालिटिकल लॉ वर्ड पता है, ठीक है। अब नेक्स्ट लिखो, बेंथम criticizes theory of natural rights from utilitarian perspective. Full stop, right? The criteria of utilitarianism is happiness. And utilitarians believe that natural rights is, why it is against happiness, disorder, ठीक है। तो natural rights is a terrorist language, inverted commas में right, is a terrorist language. So this needs to be explained further, fine, right? Since natural rights limit the authority of the state, there is always a scope for chaos. ठीक है, and chaos will be linked to unhappiness. Now you can also write that Bentham's views were influenced by the developments that took place in France after French Revolution. Right? The French Revolution took the turn of right, the reign of terrors, reign of terror. You know about it, Jacobians. वहाँ से ही links, it's a terrorist language, और सब कुछ डिस्टर्ब कर देता है when you limit the authority of the state. Fine. तो why he goes against it? Because of the reign of terror led by Jacobians. Fine. अब next लिखो, right? Right. According to Bentham, natural rights are vague. On the other hand, the positive rights are codified and thus avoids chaos. Second, right, second, why he objects, okay, second point, natural rights is based on natural law when you talk about natural law, you are limiting the law of the state, comma, whereas for Bentham, the law made by state is the real law. इसी में, right, in next paragraph, only state creates the legal and institutional support for the realization of rights. Right? Hence, for Bentham, natural rights are, right inverted commas, nonsense, comma, nonsense upon stilts, and not more than anarchical fallacies. ठीक है, तो ये वर्ड्स बस याद करके अपना हाइलाइटर रख के यही उसको याद करते रहो, और कुछ है नहीं, राइट्स का कोई भी इसमें आ जाएगा. ठीक है. नाउ not of this question but otherwise you can just write criticism of Bentham. इतना एक्सप्लेन नहीं करना होता है. ठीक है, पूरा तुम्हारे पास सारा मसाला डाल दोगे क्या उसमें? Do you think you can create a good dish by putting all masala in your kitchen? Or you should know the proportion. Proportion. ये नहीं कि सब पता है डाल दो, लेकिन क्या डालना है वही तो स्मार्टनेस है. फाइन. तो आंसर डिस्क्रिप्टिव नहीं लगना चाहिए. ठीक है, वो कोई सुनने नहीं बैठा है. ठीक है, तो ऐसे मज़ेदार वर्ड्स आते रहने चाहिए, नॉनसेंस, एनार्किकल, फैलेसीज. इससे क्या होता है, पढ़ने वाले का मेंटल सेटिस्फैक्शन होता रहता है. ठीक है, अब जस्ट इसका क्रिटिसिज्म लिख दो अगर वैसा कोई क्वेश्चन आए तो. राइट, बेंथम हैज क्रिटिसाइज्ड the theory of natural rights on the ground of vagueness and justified the legal theory of rights on the ground of, right inverted commas, felicific calculus, right? Though Bentham tried to appear more exact, yet in practice, his theory is also vague. ठीक है, तो this was said by one scholar. If you can remember, it's okay. Otherwise, no problem. Thomas Hodge, Hodgkin. Thomas Hodgkin. हाँ, मतलब ये है ना कि बेंथम से पूछा आप किस बेसिस पे करेंगे, तो यूटिलिटेरियन में उसने बताया स्टेट शुड डू ग्रेटेस्ट हैप्पीनेस. अब वो फिलोसफिक कैलकुलस, फिर हैप्पीनेस वाला मिल कुछ और समझता है, तो ये भी वेग ही है. वेगनेस इज अगेन अ बेसिस. ठीक है, प्लस यू कैन ऑलवेज से राइट, दो नेचुरल राइट्स थियरी इज वेग and suffer from limitations, yet it has contributed in suffers from limitation, yet it has contributed in the liberation of man. And is being recognized as the basis of human rights. तो बेसिकली ऐसा कहते हैं कि बेंथम डिस्ट्रॉयज एवरीथिंग बट क्रिएट्स नथिंग. ठीक है, उसकी थ्योरी से भी कोई खास फायदा नहीं. ठीक है. नाउ व्हाट अदर critics of natural rights, just write other critics of theory of natural rights. तो इसमें एडमंड बर्क, which school of thought? Conservative, and he was also troubled with French Revolution. ठीक है. एडमंड बर्क, what he said? Natural rights are metaphysical abstractions because real rights emerge from customs and traditions. फिर लिख सकते हो कि in contemporary times the different theories of rights have been incorporated in different theories of right has been incorporated in a grand theory of right known as social welfare theory, given by Lasky. ठीक है. Right, this theory has greatest amount of acceptability देखो. right, Lasky held that the rights are those circumstances of social life without which no one can attain its best. No one can attain its best. मतलब वेलफेयर, कैपेबिलिटी, सब राइट्स को इसमें इंक्लूड कर दिया गया है. ठीक है. या हाँ, बट 100 is no year in the evolution of our constitution recognizes.
Can we say communitarians were critics of natural rights? Because natural
No, actually communitarians are critics of human rights because human rights का concept है universalism. वो natural right का theme है restrict the authoritarianism of the state. ठीक है. Human rights का theme है irrespective of culture and tradition or country, everyone should get a life of dignity. तो लिंक है, लेकिन लिंक बैठाने के लिए बहुत कुछ लिखना पड़ेगा, इसलिए अननेसेसरली कॉम्प्लिकेट भी मत करो, इतना बहुत है लिखने के लिए. अब जैसे एक बार क्वेश्चन आया था रॉल्स कंसेप्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेटिक इक्वालिटी. फाइन. सो दैट वाज बेस्ड ऑन कंसेप्ट ऑफ हिज डिफरेंस प्रिंसिपल. सो नॉट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बट लेट्स दे कैन आस्क रॉल्स थियरी ऑफ राइट्स. फाइन. लिखो जस्ट एक पॉइंट्स, 2-3 पॉइंट्स लिखो.
While writing like the main body and while quoting the other critics part,
Hodgson.
Edmund Burke and all. That is, this statement is necessary and need not to explain more, right?
हाँ, you need explain नहीं करना है, describe नहीं करना है, उसका thought के points ही लिखने हैं. अब ये मैंने तुमको एक structure दिया है, घर जा करके इसको लिख के देखो, कई बार लिख के देखो, तब जा करके perfection आएगा. ठीक है. अब next ऐसे एक question लिखो. हाँ, इसी का क्वेश्चन लिखो, राइट. कंपेयर द थियरी ऑफ राइट्स गिवन बाय रॉल्स एंड नॉजिक. तो with whatever we know how to write this theory of rights of Rawls and Nozick, और अगर कंपेयर करने के लिए बोलते हैं तो अब कहो मैम ने पढ़ाया नहीं, लेकिन पढ़ाया है, तुमने समझा नहीं. ठीक है. तो रॉल्स फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कैसे यू कलेक्ट रॉल्स थियरी ऑफ जस्टिस में कहाँ राइट्स की बात है, विच राइट्स ही टॉक्स अबाउट. पहला क्या है, पेन बदल दो, दूसरा दे दो. तो सबसे पहले इन थियरी क्वेश्चन, इज इट ऑडिबल एट द बैक? इन थियरी क्वेश्चन इफ यू don't remember anything, start with the perspective. Always remember the thinker belongs to which school of thought. Fine. So both of them belong to liberalism. Fine. Rawls is a social liberal, या liberal egalitarian, social liberal, and Nozick belongs to libertarianism or neoliberal. Fine. And whenever we talk about rights, you always talk about authority or state. Fine, because rights are the protection people have from the state. So rights का discussion जब भी होगा तो rights and authority will be discussed. Fine. So social liberals, they will see which type of state? Welfare state. Now welfare state does the benefit of poors. How? By taking the progressive taxation from the rich. So ultimately welfare state does what? It limits right to property. And then social liberals justify this limitation on the ground of human dignity. You remember Rawls, the dignity is inviolable. तो अगर any specific answer you do not know, still you have enough keywords of the theory to derive what it could have been, his view on rights. Fine. So whenever he is talking about progressive taxation, it means he would not be talking about unlimited rights and give scope to the state. Is this clear? This इतना तो लिख के आ सकते हो, छोड़ के कुछ नहीं आना है. थियरी में स्कूल ऑफ थॉट पर पहुंच जाओ. इफ यू डू नॉट रिमेंबर एनीथिंग यू कैन डिराइव एवरीथिंग. फाइन. नाउ Nozick, entitlement theory of rights. He does not, he believes welfare state is wrong, progressive taxation is a bonded labor. He claims absolute right to property. Fine. So basically when you will discuss about Rawls and Nozick, Mainly you will be revolving about right to property. Fine. Two types of capitalism, the welfare capitalism and neoliberalism. There is so much to write. जब मैंने इसको ओपन अप नहीं किया था, उससे पहले इस आंसर से कुछ डर लग रहा था या आ रहा था कि करना? क्या क्या फीलिंग था पहले जब मैं बताया रॉल्स वर्सेस नॉजिक कंपैरिजन?
पता नहीं क्या होगा.
पता नहीं क्या होगा, लेकिन अभी आ गया. तो फॉर्मूला क्या है? गो इनटू द स्कूल ऑफ थॉट, collect the keywords, and you yourself will derive the theory of rights. You need not to do everything separately. Is this clear? So he says a night watchman. Main क्या है? Examiner को mental satisfaction लगता है अगर ये सब बताओगे. Night watchman state, libertarian, non-aggression. ठीक है. अब कंपैरिजन है तो डिफरेंस राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी में होगा लिबरल्स के, पॉजिटिव एंड, बट सिविल एंड पॉलिटिकल राइट्स दे विल बी टॉकिंग सेम. सिविल एंड पॉलिटिकल राइट्स ये तो सेम ही होगा. यू कैन से दैट देयर इज नो डिसएग्रीमेंट ओवर सिविल एंड पॉलिटिकल राइट्स, देयर इज अ डिसएग्रीमेंट ओनली ओवर राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी. Locke, the representative of neoliberalism, does not accept any limitation on right to property. Rather, it consider it as an aggression on person's personality and goes against human dignity. Fine? समझ में आया? एक common point ये है.
मैम
या
मैम इसमें substantive equality और formal equality का point
not required ना. तुम you have to think for explaining this thing what all is required. Then there is a word limit. Don't go for descriptive answers. Reference, have reference and go for that. He is, अब इतना हम stretch करेंगे उसको equality को लेकर के तो आंसर पढ़ना लिखते लिखते तुमको भी बोरियत होने लग जाएगी कि भैया एक खत्म हो, फंस गए कहीं. हाँ? Yes.
Can we write neoliberal ideas which are not necessarily Nozick's? Like there's that statement, na, social justice is a mirage. Now it's not Nozick.
हाँ, you can say, but if the word there is a word limit, there is not much scope. तो वैसे भी आंसर लिखते समय तुमको थोड़ा ब्रेन स्टॉर्मिंग तो करना ही पड़ेगा. What is to be eliminated, what is to be put. कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है तो फिर लिखना ही पड़ेगा. ठीक है. अब ऐसे कोई क्वेश्चन आ जाए विजयनगर किंगडम का ये बताओ तो फिर कुछ नहीं मिलेगा. यही लिखोगे चंदा मामा में तेनालीराम पड़ा था, है कुछ तो बताओगे तो फिर वो हो जाएगा चंदा मामा में तेनालीराम पड़ा था. तो इससे बढ़िया है अगर पता है तो टू द पॉइंट करो. लेकिन कोई क्वेश्चंस ऐसे पहले तो ये दिमाग में लाना नहीं है कि ये हुआ नहीं. फोरम वोरम पे लिखा नहीं करो, फालतू बात है. ये नहीं हुआ, इतना होने के बाद तुम लोग बोलते हो नहीं हुआ. बाकी सब्जेक्ट्स में पूछो कुछ होता है. ठीक है. जिसको समझ नहीं आता वो बोलता है नहीं हुआ. उसकी समझ नहीं है तो क्या हुआ नहीं हुआ तो. इज दैट क्लियर? Rawls versus Nozick. Have you understood this? What to write? So still you just write these two things. So now just write that Rawls and Nozick belong to the school of, अब बहुत स्पेसिफाई करके यू कैन राइट, बिलोंग टू द कैंटियन स्कूल. Kant. Nozick is also influenced by Immanuel Kant. Kantian school of liberalism and oppose, and are critics of utilitarianism. Full stop. Both make human dignity a cardinal virtue या important idea, core virtue, core value, human dignity, but the interpretation of human dignity of both differ considerably, representing the two different traditions. Comma, Rawls represent social liberalism, whereas Nozick, a neoliberal or libertarian. या ऐसे भी कर सकते हो, Rawls represent egalitarianism and Nozick represent libertarianism. ठीक है? So now comparison, you can write that Nozick has written,
Ma'am,
yeah,
ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but
No
ma'am,
problem.
what's the difference between a neoconservative and a neoliberal?
neo-conservative and neoliberal, their economic policy is same, but neo-conservatives will always go for customs and traditions. In terms of customs and traditions, liberals are progressive. ठीक है?
Okay, ma'am.
Right? So, कहाँ पे थे हम? Nozick has written, yeah, Nozick has given his theory as a criticism of Rawls' theory of justice. What is Rawls' theory of rights? Right? In his theory of justice as fairness, Rawls gives the three principles in lexical order. Right? The first principle mentions about the equal maximum liberty. Underline करो, equal maximum liberty. Is liberty a right? Which right? It's a right or not? भाई उन्होंने लिबर्टी करके नहीं, जस्टिस करके नहीं, राइट करके क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया, वो एक ही चीज होती है. ठीक है? मैक्सिमम इक्वल लिबर्टी. राइट? फिर इसमें जस्ट यू कैन राइट लिबर्टी इज कंसीडर्ड एज द कोर civil political right. Next paragraph, right? Rawls also mention another civil right. Which civil right he mentions? Fundamental right में है equality of opportunity. वो है ना वो इक्वालिटी. Another civil right, equality of opportunity. Full stop, right? Rawls is aware of the inequalities which will emerge because of these two principles. Hence proposed the difference principle, right? Since difference principle involves, which idea it involves? Involves, right, helping the least advantaged, comma, indirectly he justifies limitations on absolute right to property by allowing a state to impose progressive taxation. So try to bring keywords जितने भी ला सकते हो. Fine. अब next लिखो, right? On the other hand, Nozick believes that man should have absolute right over himself right. He is a critic of welfare state and supporter of night watchman state. It does not favor progressive taxation and believe that all institutions suppress the rights. Hence, कौन सा स्टेटमेंट हम लिख सकते हैं नॉजिक का, विच यू हैव लिखो, हेंस द मिनिमल स्टेट इज इंस्पायरिंग एज वेल एज राइट. अब एक और जस्ट लिखो, राइट, द फंडामेंटल डिफरेंस इज the fundamental difference between the two is that Nozick believes talent or capability is natural whereas Rawls recognizes the chance factor. ठीक है, तो it's a matter of being just. So now let's see the next question. What? तो वो कह रहा है कि अगर कोई बॉन्डेड लेबर करवाता है तो इट गोज अगेंस्ट माय ह्यूमन डिग्निटी. नाउ सी दिस क्वेश्चन 8B. This is again frequently asked question. So the question is, bring out Ambedkar's diagnosis and remedy of social injustice in India. Contrast it with Gandhian view. ये तो GS में भी आ सकता है. तो first is Ambedkar's diagnosis for social injustice in India. Then contrast it with Gandhian view. Huh? Ambedkar's diagnosis of social injustice in India and remedy. Diagnosis and remedy of social injustice in India, and contrast it with Gandhian. अभी तो बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन है. अब सिंपल क्वेश्चन को कैसे स्पेशल बना सकते हैं? फाइन. So what is the basic thing? What is Ambedkar's diagnosis and remedy of social injustice in India? Caste system basically. Fine. So Brahminism, caste system. Up social injustice. So which form of social injustice? So most you can say the worst form of social injustice in terms of untouchability. Fine. And Ambedkar's diagnosis was that the Bhakti saints, anybody who believes in Hinduism cannot find any permanent solution. Fine. Because Hinduism is basically Brahmanism, so he finds problem in Brahmanism. The core of Brahmanism is caste system, and without the destruction of caste, this is not possible. Fine. This was his diagnosis. Now what was the remedy? Annihilation of caste तो है ही है, ये तो है, लेकिन practical remedy क्या है? Affirmative action by the state. Fine. इसमें भी we can talk about their different perspective. Fine. So Gandhi is what? A moral anarchist who didn't have faith in state-led action and wanted self-realization and personal initiative, social initiative. Fine. And state. Ambedkar believed that in India society is worse than the state. Fine. Now on the other hand, if we look at Gandhi, fine, Gandhi untouchability was a very important issue in his constructive programs, and Gandhi believed that untouchability has not been the essential feature of Hinduism. It came in Hinduism at some point of time. Fine. Whereas Ambedkar believed that Hinduism is nothing other than this. Fine. And Gandhi believed in, Gandhi has established Harijan Sevak Sangh, and Gandhi believed in self-led initiatives and change that should come through the society. And Ambedkar believed that this is not possible. Fine. So this, and again Gandhi is a moral anarchist and Ambedkar, the perspectives are different. Okay? So the two have a different and contrasting view. And even after independence, fine, or Ambedkar remained the critic of Gandhian approach and had no faith. So now this approach and this approach, both have ends are similar, fine, but the basic difference comes in their fundamental philosophies, in their fundamental approach or program of action. Fine. Gandhi is looking for which type of remedies? Spiritualistic remedies. So Arundhati, कौन है घोष? Roy mentions Gandhi as saint, fine, and Ambedkar's remedies, they appear to be more practical, more based on the realistic understanding, and hence the Gandhi's approach or Ambedkar is called as doctor for the clinical approach he had towards the problem of untouchability. Fine. So the two different and the difference between the two come from the two fundamental philosophies. A Gandhi who has been a believer or who believed in Indian culture and civilization, and Ambedkar who was a modernist and who appreciated the modernization and westernization. So you can talk in terms of the grand idea, how they differ. So basic difference will always come from the philosophy of life. Gandhi will have a different philosophy, Ambedkar will have a different philosophy. तो समझ में आया इसको कैसे लिखना है? ठीक है, तो Ambedkar and diagnosis remedy of social injustice in India. अब this is very probable question, right, on Ambedkar. तो या तो हमेशा और वो आएगा social justice से ही linked करके. तो you can always start this question with Ambedkar's quote. You can just write quote before starting your answer. How long we continue to deny inequality? Dot करके just write. Putting democracy in peril. Democracy in peril. और reference लिख दो, grammar of anarchy speech in Constituent Assembly. Grammar of anarchy speech in Constituent Assembly. तो Ambedkar and Gandhi's view, ठीक है? तो on, so what you can write that Gandhi, the father of nation, and Ambedkar, the father of constitution, which is recognized as the cornerstone of the nation. Comma, right? Both devoted their lives to deal with one of the most inhuman form of injustice, the practice of untouchability in India. Right, next. Right, removal of, next paragraph, removal of untouchability was the mission of Ambedkar. And it was a core program of, a core concern of Gandhi's constructive program. Right, despite being contemporaries, paragraph always change karke, despite being contemporaries and fighting for the similar cause, they differ in terms of fundamental philosophies, principles, program of action, and to some extent priorities. Right, next paragraph. Gandhi's priority was the political struggle against the foreign rule, comma, Ambedkar's priority was the social struggle against the internal evil. Right? In their own ways, they were contributing to the national consolidation. Right, next. Gandhi, a traditionalist, who believed in the Indian culture, comma, was not in favor of accepting untouchability as a core element of Hinduism. Right, Gandhi, a moral anarchist, always preferred minimalist approach towards the state and maximum focus on self-realization. Right, he established Harijan Sevak Sanghs, and appealed to the caste Hindus, to abolish the inhuman system. Next paragraph. Ambedkar a modernist and constitutionalist, comma, right, didn't have faith in caste Hindus and didn't believe in the superiority of Hinduism. Right? He called Hinduism as a madness. And later on got converted into Buddhism. Right? In his Annihilation of Caste, he held that without destroying Hinduism, comma, we cannot end caste system and so untouchability. Right? His solution was endogamy. No, is it exogamy? Exogamy. Look, right? Right. Since society in India is more exploitative, comma, he found hope in the state. Right? Right? He preferred the institutionalist approach, comma, statutory measures, right? He even demanded separate electorate. Right, full stop, right? Ambedkar believed that the future of nation is not secured so long the evil persists. Right, next paragraph. His theory of social justice was based on, right inverted commas, trinity of values: liberty, equality, and fraternity. Right? Right? He objected the use of word Harijan as patronizing comma, and criticized Gandhi's approach. Okay. Up next you can always write thus, despite common aims, there is a difference in their diagnosis and remedy. Comma, Gandhi was reformist and Arundhati Roy calls him saint, address him as saint, comma, Ambedkar was a revolutionary in constitutionalist sense, comma, had a clinical understanding of the pathology of Indian society and is rightly called as, addressed as the doctor. So there is a disease, you can go to the saint, you can go to the doctor. I think you will prefer doctor now.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
do we have to mention the fact as well that Gandhi actually never found a problem with the one system per se, that he even defended
We
it?
have already
Okay.
written all these things. अब इस आंसर से सीखा क्या तुम लोगों ने? ऐसा कुछ था जो तुम्हें नहीं पता था, लेकिन ये वर्ड्स लिखने हैं, ठीक है? अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिस्ट, अ वेस्टर्नाइजर, इज दैट क्लियर? दिस विल जस्ट गिव ब्यूटी टू योर आंसर. ठीक है, अब जरूरत नहीं ना, आंसर लिख रहे हैं, थीसिस थोड़ी लिख रहे हैं, ठीक है? अब नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, लेट्स से अब इसके चांसेस तो कम ही है, बट रॉल्स पर इतने क्वेश्चंस आ चुके हैं, सो आई जस्ट आस्क द क्वेश्चन इज इवैल्यूएट अमर्त्य सेन's contribution to the contemporary theory of justice. कैसे लिखेंगे इसमें? यू नो अमर्त्य सेन's theory of justice. Amartya Sen's contribution to the contemporary theory of justice. See, theory of justice and theory of equality is same. Fine. So you have to develop on his theory of equality. Now, what is his contribution? What is his contribution? Capability approach, human development index, ठीक है? और जैसे अम्बेडकर्स अप्रोच टू सोशल जस्टिस, तो ऑन द ओकेजन ऑफ हिज कौन सी बर्थडे थी लास्ट टाइम, 127th पता नहीं कुछ, हाँ, तो दैट इन UNDP Ambedkar's approach was recognized, and the officials there mentioned that the very idea of that human rights incorporate Ambedkar's approach, and even the sustainable development goals that have been adopted to somewhere shape, or they also reflecting the Ambedkar's approach, giving a life of dignity to everybody. तो ऐसे कुछ UNDP डाल सकते हो, ठीक है? So now Amartya Sen's contribution to the contemporary theory of justice. What do you think is his contribution? वो contribution है, he made a good story. We enjoyed. हाँ तो to the point बताओ ना. Theory, story is not the contribution. What contribution? Amartya Sen's contribution to the contemporary theory of justice. What is his contribution? Okay. So, first of all, to highlight the weaknesses of Rawls' theory of justice. What are the weaknesses of Rawls' theory of justice? Procedural. So, Rawls is looking for some absolute formula. ठीक है? He is looking for some blueprint. If we can find it out, and then we can go for application of this. So Ambedkar says, Amartya Sen is more on realization focused approach. Fine. So Rawls' theory or approach is more abstract. Fine. So he does not differ from the overarching idea of Rawls. Fine. The concept of justice and the welfare state, but he is able to give the more concrete view that the difference principle, Rawls gives the difference principle, but that is vague. What is exactly to be done? Later on, Dworkin talks about equality of resources, but he says that we should go for realization focused approach. So he talks in terms of capability based approach. Fine. And then Amartya Sen describes his theory of his methodology based on social choice. He calls that the theory of justice should be based on the real persons in a real situation rather than some imaginary situations. Okay, so the biggest contribution is the recognition of Human Development Index by UNDP and shaping the policies. Is this clear? So what are the some technical things that can come? इसका केवल structure लिखो. Ambedkar's Amartya Sen's contribution to the contemporary theory of justice. अब इसका introduction क्या हो सकता है? हाँ? Justice से. पहले तो you have to tell the gravity of the theory of justice. Fine. So first में you should write gravity of the theory of justice. Gravity, how will you explain? What? Yes. So the most important issue in political philosophy. Fine. So Amartya Sen's or any, justice is always recognized as the core concept of political philosophy. So you can use this word that justice is a architectonic. Yeah, justice is recognized as a architectonic principle in political philosophy. Now again see the statement, evaluate Amartya Sen's contribution to the contemporary theory of justice. So from where we will start? Contemporary. Who has given the contemporary theory? Rawls. Fine. So what you can write? Write, though the theory of justice has been the core concern since the time of Plato, but the growth of positivism, matlab scientific methods, fine, the growth of positivism undermined political philosophy. लॉजिकल पॉजिटिविज्म लिंग्विस्टिक्स से ज़्यादा लिंग है, पॉजिटिविज्म ब्रॉड टर्म कह सकते हो. साइंस के कारण फिलॉसफी का डिक्लाइन हो गया था ना, तो फिर रॉल्स से स्टार्ट हो गया. ठीक है, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर क्या. ग्रोथ ऑफ पॉजिटिज्म, अब इसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है, लेकिन हम क्यों लिख रहे हैं? दिखाने के लिए कि हमको ये सब वर्ड्स पता है, हाँ, और थोड़ा इम्प्रेशन के लिए सब वर्ड डाल रहे. पॉजिटिविज्म, ठीक है. ग्रोथ ऑफ पॉजिटिविज्म अंडरमाइंड पॉलिटिकल फिलॉसफी, फुल स्टॉप, राइट. द पब्लिकेशन ऑफ रॉल्स थियरी ऑफ जस्टिस, which year? 71? Remember the year, 71 or 72. Led to the revival of the debate on justice again. Right? Next, now you come to Amartya Sen's theory. Amartya Sen's theory is in reference to Rawls. Right? Though the complete theory appears in his book, The Idea of Justice, published in 2009, yet his ideas have been found in his earlier works on famines, comma, his views on equality, fine. Up next लिखो, right, in his book The Idea of Justice, he himself explains the purpose of his work. तो उसको तुम अपने भाषा में लिख सकते हो. मेन वह है कि एग्जिस्टिंग थियोरीज आर नॉट रियलाइजेशन फोकस्ड. ठीक है, तो इसको उनके वर्ड में लिखो, बट इफ अगर नहीं है तो यू कैन ऑलवेज राइट दिस इज द थीम. राइट, द ट्रेडिशन ऑफ पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफी, इन द ट्रेडिशन ऑफ पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफी, there is lot of elaboration on the just principles and institutions, but very little on how to identify injustice and reduce injustice. So what is his contribution? Realization focused approach, and he found that existing theories are discussing the just principles but not focusing on how to make it practically possible. Fine. अब ऐसे in general लिख सकते हो, but specifically, right, He criticizes Rawls' theory on two grounds. ठीक है, अब एक he uses one umbrella word for Rawls theory. ठीक है, right? He calls Rawls theory as transcendental institutionalism. Transcendental institutionalism means he is looking for some ultimate institutions. Okay, full stop, right? Rawls looking for some ultimate formula or a blueprint that will achieve the goal of just society. Right? The two flaws are, point number one, lack of feasibility. डैश करके लिखो, राइट? अब इनको स्टोरी पसंद थी तो लिख देना, नहीं तो भी चलेगा, लेकिन लिख सकते हो कि थ्रू द स्टोरी ऑफ 3 children he shows that the consensus on the blueprint is never achievable in the real life. Second ground, redundancy. Right, since blueprint cannot be prepared, comma, it is redundant in terms of realization. We will never be able to implement. Fine. Next, right, Amartya Sen's theory is influenced by Adam Smith, if you can remember, yeah, छोड़ दो, right, Adam Smith, comma, J.S. Mill, Mary Wollstonecraft, and even Karl Marx. Right, he himself describes his theory as right inverted commas comparative theory. Means compare in the real world. Comparative theory based on social choice approach rather than rational choice. Right, he emphasizes more on nyay than niti. Minimizing sufferings. अब लिखो, राइट नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ. Right, according, yeah, in the words of Amartya Sen, philosophers cannot be the architects of castles in the sky. Comma, justice arises not from blueprint but from public reasoning. Go right, public reasoning is a practical way to reflect on न्याय. So in his theory of justice, he gives importance to debate, discussion, realization, focus. We can build a very good castle in the sky, but that is not, the focus should be on realization. Have you understood this? हाँ, माइक कहाँ है? You continue, I can listen. Yeah. माइक कहाँ गया? हाँ. डेफिनेशन ऑफ जस्टिस में तो फंसना ही नहीं, क्योंकि एक डेफिनेशन आई नहीं तो वो आंसर कहीं और चला जाएगा. वही फॉर्मूला बस लिखना है, क्लेवर लाइक फॉक्स.
तो मैम
और
जैसे क्वेश्चंस जो भी आएंगे तो उसमें कीवर्ड, अगर कोई बहुत बड़ा कीवर्ड है जैसे पावर या जस्टिस, तो हम केवल ये नॉर्मल सेंटेंस लिख के जैसे पावर इज अ कोर कंसर्न या जस्टिस
और
इज
क्या?
हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं.
क्योंकि सारे कंसेप्ट कंटेस्टेड है, कोई डेफिनेशन ही नहीं. ठीक है, तो वही है, यू हैव टू बी स्मार्ट, क्लेवर लाइक फॉक्स, ब्रेव लाइक लायन. ब्रेव मतलब यहाँ कन्विक्शन होना चाहिए तुम्हारे अंदर कि हम जो लिख रहे हैं सही लिख रहे हैं. ठीक है, मे बी कोई नया तरीका आ जाए. तो यहाँ पे तो ब्रेव मतलब वही है, राइट विथ कन्विक्शन. और कन्विक्शन नहीं होगा तो काटोगे, ये जब काटते वाटते हो ना तो पता चलता है ये इंसान श्योर ही नहीं है, या कॉन्फिडेंट, गलत भी लिख दिया चलता है, हो सकता है नज़र में नहीं जाए. हाँ, लेकिन काटोगे तो पक्का नज़र में कि ये तो इसका अप्रोच ही गलत है चीज़ें करने का. ही थिंक्स ही डज इट हरी, पहले प्लान नहीं किया उसके बाद किया, तो ये सब चीज़ ज़्यादा ध्यान रखो. पहले तो डिसाइड करो कि इसमें क्या क्या लिखना है. तो रफ वर्क में सबका एक रफ वर्क प्रिपेयर कर लो, तो तुम्हारे माइंड में है ये सब चीज़ें लिखनी है. उसके बाद कहीं से भी स्टार्ट, वेन एवर यू विल स्टार्ट इट, नॉट द आइडियाज नेचुरली फॉल कि इसके बाद यही लिख सकते हैं, वो अपने आप आता है बाय द प्रैक्टिस. तो तुम्हें कुछ आर्टिफिशियली नहीं करना होता है आंसर लिखने में. ठीक है, तो पहले एक जगह लिख लो और चालू कर दो, स्टार्ट. और बाई जस्ट वंस यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू राइट. तो इसी की प्रैक्टिस. अभी कितने दिन बचे अपने पास? 90 डेज. हाँ, 90 डेज, 10 क्वेश्चन, 900 क्वेश्चंस. 900 क्वेश्चंस किसने लिख लिए, वो तो नेक्स्ट प्लेटो बन गया वैसे ही. और कौन सा क्वेश्चन वो नहीं कर पाएगा? 10 क्वेश्चन डेली लिख. सोचना ही तो है. पूरा पॉलिटिकल थियरी, सोशल साइंस इज अबाउट थिंकिंग एंड स्मार्टली लिंकिंग द आइडियाज. अब हमने, तुम्हें हमारा आंसर सही लग रहा है अम्बेडकर वाला? बढ़िया लग रहा है ठीक है, तुम लोगों ने इसमें कुछ खास हमने लिखा है नहीं लिखा है, लेकिन फिर बढ़िया क्यों लगा, क्या मतलब, हाउ डू यू थिंक इट्स अ गुड आंसर? आई कैचिंग वर्ड्स, यस, आई कैचिंग वर्ड। जो अनमोल शेर सिंह बेदी था ना, उसने तो बस इसी पे ध्यान दिया था, की वर्ड्स जरूर लिख के आने, इसने भी इसी पे ध्यान दिया है। तो वो आई कैचिंग वर्ड्स में जाना है, की कॉन्सेप्ट्स यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड, एंड दे आर नॉट द वर्ड्स की बहुत यू मे नॉट बी नोइंग, एवरीवन नोज ऑल दिस थिंग्स। तुम लोग लेकिन इतना रद्दी आंसर लिखते हो, इतना बकवास, मतलब ना सोचते हो, पता नहीं जब आंसर लिखते हो तो क्या सोचते हो, वही नहीं समझ में आ रहा। इसमें कुछ ऐसा है नहीं खास, कुछ भी सेंसिबल आंसर नहीं, अजीब सा, और सबके इंट्रोडक्शन एक ही जैसे लिखते हो, तो ब्रिंग सम वेरिएशन। चलो जल्दी नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन 7, लेट्स सी। कंपेयर एंड कॉन्ट्रास्ट लिबरल फेमिनिज्म विथ रेडिकल फेमिनिज्म। ये तो पता होगा, लिबरल एंड रेडिकल में बेसिक डिफरेंस क्या है? Compare and contrast liberal feminism with radical feminism. What basic difference? Liberal feminists are for destroying the patriarchy? No. The main feminism is radical feminism, and the basic thing is the fight, they want radical, they are called radical because they are looking for radical restructuring of the society, and liberals, they are not for radical restructuring of the society. Fine.
Liberals are first or third generation?
Liberals first. So give me points, liberal versus radical. लिबरल वर्सेस रेडिकल, एक तो फर्स्ट वेव, सेकेंड वेव. You can also mention the scholars in liberal, no one's very significant. Mary Wollstonecraft, J.S. Mill. हाँ वो तो मूवमेंट वाले लोग हैं. रेडिकल फेमिनिस्ट you know Kate Millett, Betty Friedan and all. टेस्ट बेटी फ्रीडेन, ठीक है, तो ये पता है. अब लिबरल्स डिमांडेड सिविल एंड पॉलिटिकल राइट्स और इक्वल राइट्स थ्रू द स्टेट, एंड रेडिकल they are not demanding the rights, they are asking for restructuring. Restructuring the core of the society. So their fight is against patriarchy. So the liberal feminists, in a way traditionalist, and they continue to maintain the public versus private divide. But they challenge this idea and they talk about personal is political. Now liberalism, liberal feminism is based on liberalism. Liberalism is based on individual rights. Fine. So liberal feminism stands for the liberation of individuals, women as individuals. Whereas radical feminism stands for sisterhood. ठीक है. So they do not have that much enmity with the men, fine, but they emphasize on sisterhood, destruction of the family, heterogeneous family, fine, and their method, they are for political struggle, fine. अभी मैं बता दूंगी सीक्वेंस में, they are for political struggle, they are for hegemonic struggle, conscious raising, changing the patriarchal culture. ठीक है, तो ये लिख लो इसमें, जस्ट डिफरेंसेस क्या क्या बेसिक डिफरेंसेस. तो हियर जस्ट डिफरेंसेस लिखने से पहले यू कैन राइट द थीम. राइट द लिबरल फेमिनिज्म is a reformist rather than transformationist. फिर इसी में लिखो, राइट, liberal feminists want equality of status for women, whereas for women in the existing social structure. Whereas radical feminists want to change the core of the social structure. ठीक है, तो अब इनका कंपैरिजन लिखो, यहाँ पे टेबल फॉर्म में लिखो, लेकिन एग्जाम में ऐसे नहीं लिखना है. तो पॉइंट्स में लिबरल फेमिनिज्म का, राइट, फाइट अगेंस्ट इनइक्वालिटी, वैसे फिर पूरा पूरा लिखना पड़ेगा तुम लोगों को. हाँ, पहले तो जैसे जब भी कंपैरिजन लिखना है तो रूट कॉन्सेप्ट वही है, ग्रैंड डिजाइन लोकेट करके उसको इंट्रोडक्शन में लिख देना है कि लिबरल्स आर फॉर इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ वुमेन इन द सिस्टम, वेयर एज रेडिकल्स दे वांट टू अटैक इट. फाइन. अब देन डिफरेंस कैसे लिखना है, तो यू कैन राइट, अगर लैंग्वेज के फॉर्म में लिखना है तो लिबरल फेमिनिज्म इमर्जेस फ्रॉम द फिलॉसफी ऑफ लिबरलिज्म, comma, right, they stand for equality, comma, radical feminism is based on the realization of the limitations of liberal perspective and stand to oppose patriarchy. अब बाकी पॉइंट्स, मतलब नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ लिखो, राइट, लिबरल्स कंटिन्यू विथ public private divide, whereas radicals recognize that personal is political. फिर next paragraph, right, liberals look for emancipation of women as individuals, whereas radicals call for sisterhood. इसका क्या कंसर्न है उसको थोड़ा लिख लो, राइट राइट अकॉर्डिंग टू देम irrespective of nation, class, caste and color, all women suffer the patriarchy. Next, liberals emphasize on political awareness, institutional reforms, legal remedies, comma, remedies full stop, right? Radical feminists go for building the counter hegemony, want a cultural change, comma, consciousness raising, right? Next paragraph, फिर उसमें लिख सकते हो कि right, radical feminism is being recognized as the true, yeah, the original feminist theory, whereas liberal feminism is based on the masculinist discourse. अब अगर I different streams of feminism just लिखो, एक separate question, right? Different streams of feminism. इसमें पहला तो लिबरल, ये किस लिए है तो पता ही है. सेकंड रेडिकल, मतलब क्या क्या है रेडिकल वाले भी पता है. नेक्स्ट लिखो मार्क्सिस्ट. मार्क्सिस्ट में लिखो, राइट, they believe that struggle against capitalism will automatically liberate women. अब नेक्स्ट लिखो, इसको लिखो सोशलिस्ट. राइट, socialist feminists, इसमें you just write the name, Iris Marion Young, and Sheila Rowbotham. Right, they इनका है, they combine the fight of या fight against capitalism as well as patriarchy. Next, right? Post-feminists are closer to cultural feminists. Culture. वही है वो एंजल्स को. मार्क्सिस्ट में अगर आता है तो शूल स्मिथ फायरस्टोन लिख सकते हो. डायलेक्टिक्स ऑफ सेक्स. नेक्स्ट कहाँ पे पहुंचे? Post feminists are closer to cultural feminists, right? They feel pride in essential feminine qualities. Essential feminine qualities. अब नेक्स्ट लिखो पोस्ट मॉडर्न फेमिनिज्म. कौन स्कॉलर है? जूडिथ बटलर. ठीक है, तो राइट, अकॉर्डिंग टू हर देयर इज नो ऑथेंटिक way to describe the gender identity. Right? Identity is a matter of discourse. Right? Women cannot be defined in any specific way. Right? They believe in more fluid, free-floating identities. Ecofeminism, so you know, Vandana Shiva and all. So these are different schools of feminism. So I think we will have to stop today now. So tomorrow also I'll continue with this, and tomorrow you can come little earlier. Huh? You can come at 3. 3 to 8 we'll finish, otherwise this paper will not. Okay? Tomorrow we'll finish this paper.